Night before the duel. Our house was resplendent that night in gaiety. Maria Monroe, the president's daughter, was going to be married, and my wife gave the first of what was to be several parties in her honor. I'll never forget that night. The second floor of our house was beautiful, and as I stood between the huge archway that divided the two large rooms upstairs, I watched my wife play the harp and sing. But for some reason this night, she did a song that she had not done for many, many years. It was the song I first heard her play on that very first night in her father's house in Norfolk, Virginia. Knowing what the morning was to bring, was everything I could do to stop from crying. But I didn't. Susan was not to know. The party ended. We went down to the first floor and said goodnight to the guests. Then she turned to me and said, "Stephen, let us go upstairs to our bedroom." I said, "No, I've got work to do. I had a small study on the first floor, right off the foyer." I said, "You go up, I shall be up very soon." So she took her candle and went up the winding staircase to the third floor where our bedroom was. The servants finished their chores and took their candles and went up to the fourth floor to the attic where their quarters were. I was left alone. Alone with my thoughts. Until dawn broke. Then I had a duty to do. I left the house and walked slowly across President Square. I didn't know it, but it was to be the final time I would walk that way. I met Bainbridge, we got a carriage, and we headed out along the road that connected Washington with Baltimore, out to the town of Bladensburg. It was a small grassy knoll. Everybody called it the Valley of Chance, because so many duels had been fought there. And when we arrived, we could see on the crest of the hills men and boys gathering. Word had gotten out there was to be another duel. Even Commodore Porter and Rogers, I didn't know it at the time, but they were among the spectators. When we arrived, Elliot was there. He had loaded the pistols. The distance was marked off. And there was nothing to do but to carry out the duel. Bainbridge explained the situation to us. He said, "Gentlemen, when I say present, you will raise your arms and aim. I shall count 1, 2, 3. You're not to fire before 1. Nor you're not to fire after the count of 3. Baron and I looked at one another over our right shoulders. And then he spoke. "Sir," he said, "I hope in the next life we're going to be better friends than we were in this life." And a voice that didn't even sound like my own, I said back to him, "Sir, now I have never been your enemy." Seemed as if he wanted to speak, but then Bainbridge broke in. He said, "Gentlemen, present. 1, 2. My guns fired from this one. My shot was true. Just above the hip, just enough to wound him, and he fell to the ground. Myself, I say. I dropped my gun, raised up on my toes for a moment, and then fell to the ground. Everyone knew immediately that the wound was fatal.